I kept crying loudly as I was being flogged in my dreams by my late husband. He never ceased to torment me, though I kept begging and pleading with him to leave me alone, disturbing my little children who reluctantly woke up from their sleep to force me out of my sleep. And immediately I woke up. I cried in guilt, knowing what I did to Dave, my late husband. Dave had married me not minding the warnings from many people, even his parents, of how loosed I am. I mean to say, I was a very spoiled child. Though my parents were evangelists, I didn't care. I felt life was too sweet to be holy. That's why I had slept with different guys in my secondary school days and had three abortions before I graduated university. But still, Dave agreed to marry me. He really loved me, even if I was not near to be called a wife material because I was partially useless, except the fact that I was very good in bed. I do love sex a lot. I will always demand sex from Dave every night, whether he ate or not. I didn't care whether he was tired. All I needed was just sex and money. And Dave tried his best to make sure I lacked nothing, but I still wasn't contented with having just him as a man in my life. In fact, I already had a new lover, Emmanuel. I was older than the boy, but still I didn't feel shame to make him offer me his body for money. I began to lust after Emmanuel so much I didn't longer pester my husband for sex. But instead, I do collect money from him to keep paying Emmanuel for his dirty job services. Out of my stupid fantasy, I had took in for Emmanuel instead of my husband, but I didn't, and it didn't stop me from having an affair with the boy until I unknowingly gave birth to three children who were all from Emmanuel. Unknown to my husband, who kept showering me with love and making sure the children never lacked a thing, unaware that they weren't his blood. And I also felt he was never going to find out because I now stopped my relationship with Emmanuel, who also got tired of me making him do things he never wanted to do. I decided to become responsible and focus on my family. But just that moment, that was when my only son, out of the three children I had, fell ill and was taken to the hospital. When the doctor confirmed he had shortage of blood and needed a blood transfusion, and my husband immediately volunteered to be the donor, unknown to him that he wasn't any of my kids' father. This bothered me so much. I began pestering him not to do a thing like that and we could just buy a blood pack, but Dave insisted it were to be his duty as my son's father. And I went really thin as days slowly reached for the donation day. And that was when I bumped into one of my old friend Nikki, who was one of the bad girls and my most closest friend in class back then. That's why I didn't mind telling her my problem, asking for an immediate solution, as she just threw me a mockery laughter and asked if that was what made me almost go sick. And I nodded, pleading with her to help me. And that was why she brought up the only solution to save me, and that is to kill my husband. At first, I refused, not wanting to have my hands stained with blood. I was already bloody as she reminded me of the many babies I had killed in the name of abortion, and a sin was a sin no matter how big or small it is. She brainwashed me to killing my husband and asked for the forgiveness of God, and that's how I poisoned my husband's drink a day near the donation day. And I felt so restless because my husband wasn't showing any sign of dying soon. As he left the house going to his office, but it wasn't up to an hour that David left, I received a call on my phone telling me my husband had died in a car accident, and I quickly rushed to the hospital. pretending to be in deep grief on seeing all my husband relatives who all thought he had died because of the car accident. Not aware it was the poison I gave him, only the doctors who were smart enough to notice that it wasn't an accident but a poisoning and wanted informing everybody so they could investigate further. And I couldn't let this happen. That's why I offered the doctor my body to make him keep short, which he did. That's how I felt happy because every problem in my life had solved until a month after my husband's death. I started being steadily haunted by Dave, a ghost, and I thought this Nikki, but she refused to believe it. I showed her the marks on my body, and she got so shocked and scared, offering to take me to a strong, powerful man who knows what to do. So when we went to the native man, he told me that my husband's spirit was going to torment me my whole life for repaying his love with betrayal. And I started crying in helplessness, pleading with the man if he could do something to stop this. But he slowly nodded, explaining to me that my husband was a kind spirit and was going to forgive me if only I confessed what I did to everyone, especially his family members, and truly apologize day and night on his grave, and I quickly did it, confessing my sins to his family members, who swore not to forgive me for what I did to their son. And it didn't stop me from carefully begging Dave for his forgiveness on his grave for months, until he forgave me and I was no longer tormented. I was so grateful I repented and shifted away from Nikki, so I could train my children in a way that the world will not follow. They will not follow my footsteps. Well, I've come to the end of this story. I hope you did enjoy it. See you in my